Welcome, everyone. It is November 4th, 2018, and you are listening to Night Caller's Bigfoot Radio. Hey, did that blow you away, Lauren? You were expecting to do that, weren't you?
I wasn't. I was not at all prepared.
Well, you know, she's been traveling today. She is, like, really pooped out, and she's been visiting her brother, my son, so everything's good, and it's been great. So she may just be kind of on the sidelines tonight. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. So how was the weather in Arkansas?
It was good. It was really beautiful. We had a storm last night, and we were watching horror movies, so it was perfect. Thunder and lightning and all that, and then rain, and then it was. Today was. Today was gorgeous. It was cool but sunny outside, and so I'm driving back through the mountains, and it was just beautiful, beautiful. I took my time getting back, and I just really enjoyed it. So I kind of got a little vacation this weekend. I'm okay with that.
Yes, a little vacation, yes. Oh, I tell you, anytime you're going through the Ouachitas, it's just beautiful, you know. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, you know, this weather has just been amazing. Yeah, we've been having, you know, these little series of cold fronts and stuff, and some people up north are actually having snow already. But Halloween was really cool. We had a thing at the church where we give out candy, and so we all dressed up and we're sitting around there and handing candy out, and the wind was blowing like it was a real warm wind. It was right before that first cold front, and it was lightning outside, and somebody was out there smoking a cigar, and there was smell of popcorn, and it just reminded me of, like, the old auctions we used to go to when we lived on the East Coast. And it was just amazing. It was the best Halloween I've had in a long time. I've never got to hand out candy, you know, living out in the boonies. You know, nobody comes out here that would have any sense. And so, yeah, so it was a lot of fun seeing all the little trick-or-treaters. And we had this one little boy who was about 2, and he was dressed up like Willie Nelson. He had the little long gray braids and the bandana and a little guitar. He was so cute. Oh, my gosh. But it was excellent. Cute. So how was your Halloween?
It was good. It was really, well, you know, we got the kids and got them dressed, and it's, of course, you know, sprinkling, and it's cold, and then we get them up the street, and it starts raining, and but it was really fun. They had a good time, and a lot of people are participating despite the rain, so we went around our own neighborhood, and so I, you know, did a shout out to those people, like, thank you for participating. I have 2 very happy trick-or-treaters here because of them, and but it was cold, wet, and rainy, and I'm just, you know, it's been that way the last 2 years.
I know. Oh, man, I know. And it's supposed to be cold and kind of scary, but not rainy. That's just no good. I know she put a video up on Facebook, you know, where little Z was saying, don't scare me. Were you wearing that wolf mask and scaring that baby?
Yeah.
Were you? Shame on you.
Honestly.
Who do you get that from?
I mean, it was really funny. It was hilarious because, you know, I tried to scare Ricky with the wolf mask, and he didn't even react. And I tried to scare Adam, and he didn't react. And Xander looked at it and kind of got closer. And then I, you know, growled at him, and that's when he said, don't scare me.
No, he said, don't scare me. Don't scare me. Yeah, you know it.
Don't scare me
don't
anymore.
Scare me. Don't scare me
so
anymore. Oh, he is a doll. Well,
I'm supposed to scare him.
I know. You've learned from the best. Yeah, I'm sure Drew told you all the times that I scared him, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think the best one was when him and his little friend were in the house and we snuck around to the back. We told him we were going to buy Cokes or something, but we didn't actually leave. We went to the back of the house and flipped the breaker. And then we started banging on windows and, you know, all that. And it scared them half to death. Oh, my gosh. They were so quiet in there. They were so quiet. It was like they must have been under beds probably. They were like 13, 14, you know. So, but anyway, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest tonight. A real surprise. I think you guys are going to just really be amazed at the things that this gentleman's going to share with us tonight. So I'm anxious to hurry up and bring him on. If you've read the description, it basically says that he was born and raised in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he was always an outdoorsman, and I'm just paraphrasing here. His father had an old Navy buddy that lived in Missouri, and when they visited him, he just fell in love with the place. The forest and rolling hills were so different and full of game compared to the flat corn and soybean fields of South Dakota. So after his parents passed away, he sold out and moved to Missouri and bought a 10-acre place with a barn and a house and a pond. And from the beginning, he felt like he was being watched. So let's go ahead and bring David Parker from Missouri on, and let's hear his story. Hi, David. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How you girls doing?
Doing good. Lauren's a little on the tired side, so if we hear snoring, I'll buzz her on Facebook or something and say, "Wake up!"
No. From what I've heard so far, I don't think I'll be snoring.
I don't think you will either. So, when did you move to Missouri, David?
Oh, it was like after the school year, ended, and it was like May of 2006. So I lived there for about 12 and a half years, and I had custody of my daughter, so I had to wait till the school year was over to move.
Okay.
So I sold off my acreage that I had for twice what I paid for it, and moved down here and bought a place outright. Here I am. And
yeah.
My daughter's grown and living her own life now, but so I was here alone for a while, and when I was alone is when I had my first sighting. And I had a pretty bad accident where I got crippled up. I shattered my left knee joint in about 13 pieces, so it took a while.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't get around so well. I got a limp, and I don't have any cartilage in my knee, so I can't really go doing all the exploring in the woods that I'd love to do because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I only got so much time I can put on my knee in a day, and so most of the time when I'm out in the woods, I'm cutting firewood, and that's when I've seen some pretty neat tree structures like that one of them I sent you where it had that neat X in it with the two trees snapped off about the night. That was actually on my neighbor's property that's to the west of me. He's got 30 acres. And he says, "Yeah, sure, come over here. Cut up all you want." He goes, "I know what you cut. All the stuff that needs to go anyway." But my first sighting, it was April 2nd of 2006, and the previous day I'd been out in this area where there were a lot of trees that, there's a bunch of oak trees, and some of them were smaller, and they got choked out. So I cut them down and chopped them up into firewood. And it was the following day I went out to collect the firewood. And the way my property is, it's kind of rectangular shaped, and the house is on the south side by the road. And then it's like on a finger of land, and it drops off pretty good on both sides. And on the west side of the house, about even with the barn, I have my pond in the face of the dam. And this was just a little beyond that. There's a circular stand of trees, and that's where I've been cutting firewood. So I went to make a U-turn on the top of the hill so I could get as close as I could and save a few steps. And as I was going along, it's like there's this dark figure there. And now I believe its back was to me because I couldn't see any facial features. And it didn't have the big burly shoulders. And pretty much what it looked like to me was like one of those pistol target silhouettes without the numbers and lines in it. It was head and shoulders and a little bit below the waist, and then I thought it was about man size, and I'm like, no way, you know.
Did you know anything about Bigfoot, or did you believe, or did you?
I've seen the Patterson film as a kid, and you know, I believed that it was real, and I'd even tried doing a few things around here, see if I'd get a response like they do on Finding Bigfoot, but I didn't get any response, which is typical. But anyway, I went to make the U-turn, and I looked away for a second, and I looked back, and it was gone. So I pulled up where I was going to get my firewood, and I only grabbed about half of what I was going to get and looked over my shoulder a lot. And what I saw, I thought was about man size. Now, 2 days later, I went back to get the rest of my firewood, and I went to go see if I could find some tracks. And I came to realize that when I went to the position where the figure had been standing, that instead of 6 foot tall, due to the slope of the hill that I couldn't really see, it was probably 8 feet tall. And
wow.
You know, that'd be consistent with a female. And that would explain why I didn't have the big, broad shoulders. But there were no tracks to be found because it was right at the edge of the forest. And you know how all the leaf litter is. It's 2 days later, you come back, it's like if you stepped on a sponge. It fluffs back.
Exactly. I have the same thing here in East Texas. Same thing.
Now, where I'm at in Missouri, the ground here is about like concrete when it's dry. I mean, it's hard to find any decent tracks here. I've only been able to cast one. I mean, I found tracks here 24-inch. I found some, you know, that were, probably 10-inch. And the biggest tracks we've ever found were 32 inches in length. And it wasn't a Bigfoot. It was something else. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but, you know, when you figure out what it takes, well, that'd be something 16 feet tall. It's got a narrow heel on it, so it's not a big male Bigfoot.
Huh.
It's got a narrow heel like a female, but it was 32 inches long. And I don't know if you know the formula for figuring out height from tracks, but if you take a Bigfoot track and you take the number of inches and divide that by 2, that will give you the feet and height of the one that made the track. Don't matter if it's a little one or a male or a female. And, you know, a female Bigfoot tops out at 8 feet about, and their tracks top out at 16 inches. So there you go. Just divide it by 2. And with the males, they get 12 feet tall and leave 24-inch print. So, you know, it's just that simple. Now, I've heard other people want to argue.
Some will say that that's ridiculous. They don't get that tall, but they do. They do. I've talked to witnesses that I actually, right after they saw it, they saw one that was 12 feet tall, and they weren't exaggerating in the least, and they've stayed to their story. Yes.
Yeah, they're enormous and fast. I've had quite a few encounters because once I seen that one, I kind of, of course, being crippled up, I got in on the computer and was reading as much as I could. I tried getting a hold of the game warden, and, well, that was about useless. He said, well,
yeah.
We're not a protective species, so if you see another one, just shoot it in the face, he said. And I thought, what is wrong with you? I said, they haven't done nothing to threaten or hurt me, so why would I want to shoot it? And, they don't hurt me, and that's just kind of how it is.
Well, what if you were mistaken and it was a person and you shot him because the game warden told you to? I just can't even believe that any game warden worth their salt would have said something like that. That's just horrible.
Well,
but continue on.
What I felt. And then I got a hold of a couple of different Bigfoot groups. Had a BFRO guy come out here, but I don't know. He came out to do an investigation. I showed him a bunch of stuff, and then I figured if he was going to do an investigation, he probably would have spent the night, and then went during the day and, looked for different structures and stuff where the activity is. But as soon as they started doing the call, and he got in his car and left, and I thought, okay.
Oh, no.
And then, because I had gotten a hold of some former BFRO guys that got their own organization, and they got him to come because he was closer. And I said, I don't know why you sent that guy. I said, as soon as they started calling, he got in his car and left. But, and it took me a long time to figure out just how many of them there were. Because, the females, they do a lot of calls with like a barred owl, very similar.
Yeah.
But then it'll also morph into a crow and sound like excited chimpanzees, and you get all these weird screams, and they imitate a lot of stuff too. Like one time when there's a ridge just east of my house, and most of my stuff that I do, I'm just out on my deck, and when they do their calls, I'll whistle to them, kind of mimic their call with a whistle, and then they come in closer.
Uh-huh.
And the one time, it sounded like a bullfrog up in the woods.
You don't think it was a tree frog, maybe? Oh, a bullfrog.
Well, why would a bullfrog be 300 yards away from a pond where they spend their whole life and where their safety is?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't say.
It makes sense. Yeah. And you hear stuff like one time, it was during the daytime, early morning hours, I'd let the dogs out, and I heard this sound like a dove call without the strong lead on it. Because you know how when the doves do their call, they have that strong lead where they go, woo, woo, and then woo, woo, woo. Yeah, the lead was missing. So, it seems to me like that's
going,
possible.
Woo, 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 instead of woo, 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 like that. It's just doing the hooing. Right?
Yeah, just the woo, 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 the trailer call, not the lead.
Uh-huh.
Now,
okay.
What kind of dove would do that? They'd know their call. I mean, you hear all kinds of crazy stuff, and like one night I had one that was back by the barn, and she was doing, barred owl type calls, and then she'd throw something, and then you look where it was thrown, and then she'd move closer while you were looking away. And she did that 3 times, and then she got on the west side of my house and screamed like a woman 3 times.
Wow.
Now, when I recorded it, it sounded to me like a woman screaming 3 times. But when I listened to the recording, it sounded more like whoops. Why? I don't have an explanation.
Sometimes that does happen, though. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you hear other
it's what
kind
your
of weird
ear
stuff.
hears and what the recorder gets. Sometimes are two different things. Or it sounds like it's just like I've heard stuff out there, and I think it's one thing, but then when I get home and listen to the recording, I realize it's something else.
Yeah.
And,
well, I wasn't going to go approach her and go, "What's the matter, baby?" Because she's screaming like that. I mean, God, I don't want to be around a human woman that emotional, let alone one that can rip your arm off and beat you with the bloody end of it.
So, I had a question for you, and I apologize that I can't remember what it was. Oh, you said you recorded. So what do you use for a recorder?
Oh, okay. It's let me see. It's a Sony, and it's glasses on here so I can read this.
Is it one of those little tiny black ones?
It's
or silver?
It's a PCM-M10. And
okay.
It's black. That's the model. They're not cheap. It's about you can get them on eBay for about $350.
Wow.
But it records good. I mean, if you got something else, you're not going to get as good a recording. You know how it is. You get what you pay for, and if you want better recordings, you're going to have to throw out the big bucks. That's just how it is.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
So what kind of things have you recorded?
Oh, I've gotten one where I got this one recording. I'll have to find it. I had it on my computer, but where I live, the power likes to go off and on all the time, and computers don't last more than 18 months before it tries them.
Yeah.
But like this one, I had the females, they started out doing their owl calls and whatnot, and then a little bit later you could hear the males. Now, the adult males here each have about a handful of coyotes with them. That's the adult males that hunt. And you'll hear them, they'll howl kind of like a werewolf, and it sounds kind of hoarse on the end. And they get the coyotes all howling and yipping and yapping and everything. And there's six of those big males that do that. And and the big males usually run a 3-day schedule of being where they're hanging around, or the other 3 days I think they're out running the deer herds in a big circle so they can maintain a food supply and gathering more deer as they do it.
Yeah.
And now, when it gets to be about mid-August, where it seems to be mating season, they'll split into 2 groups of 3. So there's always a male presence around. But then they also outnumber the females by 2 to 1. So I don't know if that has anything to do with
this.
it.
I have to ask you because people are going to wonder, how do you know this? How do you know it's mating season, and how do you know they outnumber each other,
Well, you can tell by the calls.
Okay.
And it would also make sense that males being larger and more robust would have a better chance of survival to adulthood.
Okay.
And, when you got to think about it, they don't have the medicine and stuff we do, and, the infant mortality rate, I would guess, would be higher among the females because they're small and everything, and be a little more likely to get sick just because they're smaller.
Yeah.
But now I'd say the mating season I believe, begins about mid-August. My birthday is in mid-August, and one year I had two females sing to me on my birthday for all days of the year.
No, they weren't singing happy birthday, were they?
No.
Okay.
But it was really beautiful, and if you would have heard it, oh, God, I wish I'd had a recorder. You would have cried if you had heard it. It was so beautiful. But it started out with, cooing, almost like pigeons do, and they're known to coo towards their children like affection. And It started out with cooing, and then it went into almost like some kind of tropical lovebird song or something. And it was just beautiful, but it kind of freaked me out because I was living here alone. I thought, uh-oh, I don't want one of these girls to decide she wants some jungle love and run off with me.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I figure you get home and if Daddy don't approve, you're dad.
Well, so you were saying earlier that you've had them, you've been fairly close to them, and have you seen any more than once?
Well, the most I've seen at any one time is 3.
Okay.
And that was one night when I put out some goodies for them and called them. And first there was a female and then a younger female next to her. And then a second adult female came in on the other side. And there wasn't any squabbling or nothing. They just shared what was in the coffee can. Which
And what do you put out for them?
A scoop of gravy train dog food, a couple of strips of bacon, and then I had 3 raw eggs in the top.
Okay.
Now, when they get the eggs, I don't know if they just pop the whole thing in their mouth or what, but if they get it, you won't find any eggshells. Maybe they take it with them for later. I don't know. But when they did come to get it, it was after the sun had went down. It was too dark to try and get a picture.
Yeah.
You could just make out the dark shade. And, once they were here, I figured, and I realized they were here, I figured the Indians learned how to live with them.
Yes.
So I was going to give it my best shot, too. And that's when I started, calling back to them and not trying to trick them. And that's the worst thing to do, because if you use like on Finding Bigfoot, everything they do is based on trickery. Well, if you trick them, nobody wants to be made a fool of. So you trick them, and then they get mad at you, and then they ain't going to want nothing to do with you. So I don't try to trick them. I'm just, let them come to me, let them have interaction on their terms. And that's kind of how you got to do it.
Yeah.
Because,
so,
if you think you're going to have it on your terms, you're sadly mistaken. And just like one of the better things that you can do is announce yourself before you go traipsing into their territory. Kind of like knocking on somebody's door before you walk into their house.
Right.
Show them respect, and it goes a long ways.
Well, I would think personally, they know you're there anyway, that you're coming, and they can hear you, smell you, everything else. But you're saying that it's a form of respect to announce yourself. So if you announce yourself, how do you go about saying it? You say, "Hi, it's me, David. I'm here." Blah blah blah.
I just yell out aloud, "Yoo-hoo!"
Okay.
And I go, are they out here? And, and then I go on about my business, and a lot of times they'll call to me, and I'll do the whistle that I usually do. See, what I do is a lot of times, they each do a different, each of the females will do a variant of a barred owl call. Now, the reason that they do this is that the woods here are really thick, and in the summer, you're lucky if you got 25-foot visibility. And that way, the young males that act as guards over the females and the young ones, that way they can all move as a spread-out group, and they know who is who and where without a direct line of sight.
Right.
If that makes sense. And they're highly
yes.
intelligent. And they move with with a precision like, a military recon team. And because the females do all these calls when they're stationary, it lets the younger males know where to position themselves to be in a guard-type position. And
what about wood knocking? Do they do that where you live?
Not a lot. They do it some. Now, my second encounter happened, not too far from the first. I went down to this area where the previous owners had dumped a lot of junk, and I took a burn barrel down there with me because there was a lot of old rotten wood and plastic, and I just figured if you burn all that stuff, at least you reduce the amount of junk and get rid of a fire hazard.
Right,
so I
right.
was out there burning, and next thing I know, I hear from the hill up towards the top of the hill to the west of me, I hear 6 wood knocks right in a row, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I heard something big moving towards me. And it settled in behind a clump of oak trees, because there were probably like 6 or 7 oak trees all growing in a clump. And I could see something dark that I couldn't really make out much of nothing. It was, probably about 75 feet away from where I was. And pretty soon, I don't know if it was an acorn, a little rock, or what, but something come over and hit in the junk pile. And I kind of laughed, and I said, "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid of me. I won't hurt you. You show yourself." And I'm going on, and I'm cutting up briars and sticking them in the burn barrel and all this other junk. And pretty soon, another little thing comes over. Now, nothing was landing real near me. It was at least 20 feet away. So when I say things were towards me, they weren't at me, but just near me. And, well, that went on for a little while. And then along the creek that's just off of my property to the north, I heard something coming that, it sounded like a blind elephant going through the thicket or something.
Oh, gosh.
It was moving really slow. Sound. It was moving really slow, but you could hear branches breaking. It sounded like they were probably as thick as shovel handles. And, okay, so now I got one to the west of me and another one coming in from the north. And it wasn't one of my braver moments. And all I could think of in my head was, how, like, when 2 groups of chimpanzees come together, how they try and break branches and stuff as a form of intimidation.
Yes.
And I figured, if there's one there, that's one thing. But then when there's 2, I'm kind of surrounded. And I thought, well, I guess that's enough of this for today. I'm going to head back to the house and get a cold drink. So I did. Well, and it took me probably a year to figure out how many of them there were. Because, like, for example, just to figure out the schedule of when the males are around took a while to piece that together, because they'll be there for 3 days and they're gone for 3 days. And then you get the females calling, and then, you figure out, okay, from the calls there's this many. And in the beginning I used to spotlight them a little bit, but I don't do that anymore.
Well, I bet that went over really well.
Well, sometimes you just do. But anyway, one time I had one, there was a night, it was probably about 10:30, I burned trash in a burn barrel. After dark, the wind died down, so I was out burning trash. And then I went and I on my deck, I've got like a 2-person booth out of a restaurant, and I was just sitting there, just kind of chilling, listening to them, and then I could kind of hear this, my kitchen windows vibrating, like from a bass sound or something, but I had all the stuff in the house turned off, like anything that make noise. I shut it down, like TV or whatever. But you know how if you got like a television set next to the window, when the bass sound comes, it'll rattle the glass?
Yes.
It was kind of like that, but I couldn't figure out where there was a source because I live on a dead-end road, and those windows were facing the east, and there isn't another place for like 2 miles east of me. So where's this bass sound coming from that's rattling my windows? Well, then I started getting that, when you get blasted with infrasound feeling where you start getting goosebumps and kind of creeped out. Okay, then all of a sudden, there was a young one that it had snuck up, and it had been peeking around my garage, which is right next to my deck. So it was like 15 feet away, and it was hitting me with that infrasound. And then all of a sudden, it just took off like the devil was after it. You hear these big footsteps, and by the time I stood up with the spotlight, he crossed the ditch, crossed the road, crossed the other ditch, went over a 5-foot-high barbed wire fence, never missed a beat, and was out of sight to even spotlight him.
Oh, my goodness.
And these big, heavy footsteps were coming down so hard and so fast that it almost turned into one. Then he got way out there a ways, and then I heard a big branch break. And he stopped. I don't know if he ran into it or what. But and then this one spot where I had been hearing some stuff, I shined the spotlight over there, and I seen the little one duck down. And it's where there's a lot of black raspberries growing. So she was over there eating them. So then I waited, I turned the spotlight, it had a trigger, so I took my finger off the trigger and counted about 3 and then hit it again, and there she was, and I caught her out in the open. She was only about 5 foot tall and all black, shaggy, not, built kind of scrawny. The hair on the head was really thick, and stringy, like a string mop. And the bangs were cut, and the eyes were glowing bright green. And she was kind of walking sideways along the side of the hill towards where one of the adult females was. And she kind of looked like she wanted to go down on all fours, but didn't. And most of the sightings we have here, probably 60% of them, they're on all fours. But I'm in a hardwood forest, so think about it, as a tree gets taller, it stands out, so if you're on all fours, you can fit in places where you otherwise wouldn't be able to.
I think also, like here, I think the reason why they travel on all fours is because the game trails are lower, and they're not open game trails. They're short, so I don't know it, but they can go through that stuff like it's nothing, like cutting through butter.
But here, if it's under 10 feet tall, it's either poison ivy or some kind of prickly, thorny, god-awful thing. Well, we got briars, and then we got these bushy trees that got thorns on them like a rose bush, and you get your gooseberries, and they're all prickly, thorny, and the raspberries are all prickly, thorny, and you get those black locust trees here, too, and those things got thorns as long as your fingers and branches off them like antlers, and they're horrid.
Wow.
So they'll go through a tractor tire.
Wow. Well, are they briars? Are they briar or?
No, black locust is a locust tree.
Oh, black locust, yes. Oh, yes. That's. Has anyone else seen anything out at your place, or are you the only one? Have there been other witnesses?
Yeah, my roommate Ralph. We've had a lot of different things go on. Well, we had 8 sightings on this property just in the month of June, and the closest one
of this year. Of this year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and the closest one, if the kitchen window wouldn't have been there, I could have reached out and touched him. He was a young male that we kind of have the most interaction with, and he's about 9.5 feet tall now. He grows about 6 inches a year.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to tell you a pretty good story you get a laugh at, but
okay.
When I was first getting into it, you know, and I'd whistle to the females when they'd do their calls and stuff. Well, this one time, there's an old car down in the gully that the people just let roll down the hill, and the hood was off it. And I'm whistling to the females, and I can hear some motion in the gully where I can hear footsteps come down. Then I heard a crinkle like where one of them stepped on the hood, and then I kind of heard it come up the hill, and I didn't hear nothing. And then I heard the sound of, you know, like when you pivot your foot on gravel, that I heard that. And then I seen him. He was only about 15 feet away, standing in the driveway, little male, about 6 feet tall, way bigger than me, of course, but little male, just a little kid. But he was standing there, and oh, God, you know, you're thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And, well, my kitchen door was there. And I remembered I had been at the dollar store, and I grabbed one of them bundles of Tootsie Pop. So I grabbed that, and I'll tell you what, you've never seen anybody peeling Tootsie Pops so fast in your life. And I'm chucking them over the fence. the whole pack. The first one was peeled. I just threw it over, and then the rest of them I peeled, and I was chucking them over. I heard a couple of them go thud when they hit him, but then the next day I went out and looked, and the one that had the wrapper on it was still there, and 3 grape ones were there, but all the rest of them were gone.
Oh.
So he had gotten a mouthful of them, and then he left. Now, whether he shared them or not, I have no idea.
Right. I'd heard somewhere from someone that they didn't like grape. I don't know if it's grape jelly or...
Well, no, I took them out at a later time, and they took them. But I suppose he had a choice, so he chose the ones that he liked the best. Right. But now we've got a lot of wild grapes that grow around here, and they eat those in the fall when they get ripe. And, like, there's wild plums. We get several kinds of berries. And they always raid my peach trees. Now, I didn't have any peaches this year because, I don't know, too much wind or something ruined the blossoms where they got fertilized peaches. But the previous year, I had said, I was walking towards the house and looking at those peaches, and they're not very big. But I said, those peaches look ripe. I think I'm going to come out here tomorrow and get me some. Yeah, tomorrow came, I go out to get some, and every last one of them was gone off both trees.
Oh, gosh. I have the same thing happen with my pears. The exact same thing.
Now,
oh, my goodness.
I didn't see any Bigfoot close. I don't know. I suspect that they're telepaths, and I think they can read your mind. I know it sounds
they can do something because they know. It's kind of like your dogs. When you go to give your dogs a bath, they know. They know. You don't even have to say, I'm going to give you a bath. You can go in there and get the bath ready and go look for them, and they're hiding. You can't even find them, you know. So I
well,
think
I've had too many weird things happen, like Ralph had used a hatchet of mine that I've had since I was a kid. And he's got a bad habit of not putting things back where he found them. Drives me nuts. I said, okay, what'd you do with my hatchet? He goes, oh, no. I said, well, I don't know. I ain't going to cut it. I said, I've had that since I was 8 years old, and I want my hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day, he found it. It was where he had used it last, right along the bank of the hill along my driveway, where he'd been chopping some little, I don't know, brushy little limbs off of some logs that we brought up to the house. Now, it couldn't have been there the whole time or he'd have hit it with the lawnmower because he mowed it.
Right.
Okay.
Huh.
So how did it know to bring it back? I had the same thing happen with a file that turned up missing. It was a triangular-shaped file, and I said, well, I sure wish I knew where that was. I'd like to have that because I need it for sharpening up the machete. The very next day, looked over the edge of the deck, and there it is, mushed down into the dirt. But it wasn't there for no 18 months because it was there almost daily.
Uh-huh.
So how'd they know?
I don't know. I wonder if they can't understand. You know, I don't know.
Or do they know the English language that well? I don't know. Draw your own conclusions. But, you know,
exactly.
Just weird stuff like that. I've had them come in the house, too.
Now, that's something that no one is going to believe. But please tell us about that. That's just crazy. In the house?
Well,
inside your house?
It happened about 5 times. The first time was in the afternoon, and this was when I was living alone, and I've got 2 dogs, and my basement door was forced open, and it's one of those Z-bar type doors, you know, made out of wood with the like upright boards with the Z pattern on the backside. And
is it one of those basement doors that like a cellar door, sort of, like on the outside of the building, and it leads steps down into the basement?
It's just a Z-bar door on frame there, and I had it propped shut with a 2x10, you know, up against it to hold it tight, you know, so it sealed good. And that door was forced open, and of course, I was sitting in the recliner watching TV and got the dogs right by me, and of course they go ballistic. So I scraped myself off the ceiling, grabbed my shotgun, and ran around by the garage, and there was nothing. I come up through the house, nothing. But that door was split, and the frame was loose, and that 2x10 was laying on the floor. Now, that was the first time. That's happened a few other times. Once here, it was probably this spring. They came in. It was about 2:30 in the morning. I heard the basement door get forced open, and went down the basement, and there was a sheath to the machete laying on the floor, and the machete was gone. And the next day, we found the machete laying in the driveway. It was kind of bent up. It had been used, but they like to borrow machete, and well, seems like about once a year a machete don't come back. But my roommate Ralph likes to chop stuff with the machete, and they watch him, and they like to imitate him. And one time he left it down near the creek. You know those big wild grapevines that get about as big as a man's forearm?
Yeah.
Ralph had left the machete down there, and he had it just the tip stuck in the ground. Well, he went to go get it like 2 days later, and he'd been chopping some briars in that area with it. And he looked, and there was one of them great big grapevines had been cut with one blow. Size of a man's forearm. And he found the machete laying about 20 feet away, and he found some 14-inch male tracks.
And so
Now,
you
you
never
can-
thought that it was like a neighbor or somebody coming into your house? Oh,
No.
I mean, it is a neighbor coming into your house, but a hairy neighbor. But, I mean, you never thought that it was maybe some crackhead out there coming into your house at night or anything
I
like
would
that?
have seen him and I would have shot him. Real simple.
Mm.
I mean,
Wow.
if it would have been one of them whacked out meth heads, I would have seen him and I'd have shot him. Just
Yeah.
plain and simple.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So,
Well, now, one thing I didn't realize that I had been doing is when I first moved in here, my daughter had goats. Now, that's one thing if you talk to people who have Bigfoots hanging around, I think they find the goats entertaining because, you know, goats are a strange critter and they'll jump and twist and do all weird stuff for no reason whatsoever. And I think they get bored and they find them entertaining. And a lot of people I've talked to that have them hanging around, either they have goats or their neighbors will. If not goats, horses. And at one time I had both. But after I got hurt, it took me a long time to recover, and I was pretty poor from going to the doctor all the time and prescriptions and all that other stuff, so I had to get rid of my horses.
oh.
But, well, you do what you got to do, you know. It's one expense.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
It's
I
pretty
hate
late
that,
to
though.
go take care of the horses when you're using a walker.
Yeah. Well, what do you think they are, David?
And then another time, let's see. Now, one time, Ralph and I had been to the grocery store, and we each had a cart. And it was the next day, and I said, Ralph, you bought milk, didn't you? And he goes, well, yeah, it's right here in the receipt. And I go, so where'd it go? He goes, oh, no. I said, well, it's not in the fridge, not in the freezer, it's not in the cupboard. And out in the back of the truck, I said, you brought it in, didn't you? He goes, well, last time I remember seeing it, it was on the tailgate, and I was bringing in all the pop. Because he was carrying groceries.
No.
Well, in between trips into the house, our mischievous one we call Little Andy swiped a jug of milk. We found the jug down by the pond, but then the next day, Ralph's in his room, and his bed was up against the outer wall, and he's laying in bed watching TV, and there's a window kind of above his bed, and he had the window open because it was warm out, and next thing he knows, there's a snake in bed with him.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was kind of a rare snake. It's called a banded snake, where they're kind of like a garter snake in size, not poisonous. They got a bright yellow little band behind the head, and they're kind of a steel gray with an orange belly. Pretty rare in these parts. I've only ever seen two in my whole life. And he recognizes not being poisonous, so he caught it, and he goes, well, what should I do with it? I said, well, just stick it outside and let it go. I said, they're not poisonous, and they're kind of rare. And then upon a little further investigation, we seen on the screen right next to the edge, there was a hole about the size of a quarter. Nice and round. So we figured that young Bigfoot probably fed that snake through. Maybe he was trying to pay for the milk that he swiped. I don't know. But we laughed about it.
Wow.
And then recently here, I had to run into town to get a part welded on my pickup so that it would pass inspection. There was a bracket, a mounting bracket on the frame that had a crack in it. I had to get it fixed. So when I did that, Ralph had a what would you call it, abscess tooth. He was sleeping, so I just left him. And I went and I got that done. I come back, and he was all excited. And I go, what happened? He goes, well, the dogs kept bugging me, so I got up. He goes, when I come out, the kitchen door was wide open. He goes, and then I noticed the bread was on the floor. And when I picked that up, I noticed that the pickle jar was on the counter opened. And it was one of those really big pickle jars that are like tall as a milk jug, you know, those plastic ones you get at Walmart.
Yeah.
And there was one of them wooden forks in it, and probably about a quart worth of pickles was gone.
Oh, my gosh. I wouldn't think they'd eat pickles. Wow.
So it ate all the pickles out of there, and he used a fork to do it. There was another time where Ralph and I weren't here, and we come back, and later that night, Ralph's kind of giving me these dirty looks, and I'm like, well, what's the matter? And he shows me his prize chef knife. Well, he went to culinary school, so, you know, chef knife is a pretty big deal to somebody who went to become a chef.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Well, turns out when we were gone, the cans of fruit got raided out of the cupboard. And the Bigfoot used his good chef knife to open the cans. And the very tip is curled over, and about the 2 inches of the knife were kind of bent. And, well, you know, with just two of us here, he thought I did it. And I said, well, Ralph, why would I do that? I bought you that knife. I said, I wouldn't do that and left your knife like that.
Oh, my goodness. So is Ralph still living with you? Is he still your roommate?
You know, he does a lot of, you know, since I got this bad leg, he does a lot of the leg work for me. And
oh, that's awesome.
Works out.
I was worried that all the Sasquatch activity would scare him off, but apparently he seems to like it too.
Well, the ones here, you know, I've only ever felt threatened really once. And that's when I was bringing a snack out for the girls. And I don't carry a gun with me anymore. I don't even bring a light. I know my way, even if it is dark, and I know if they're out there, there isn't nothing else out there that's dangerous.
Exactly. So, yes.
They have a path that runs right along the north side of my barn that lines up with the pond, with the dam on the pond. So I have a post out there that's a landscaping timber with about the top 2 feet of it covered in metal to keep critters from getting stuff. And then I usually set a Folgers coffee can up there. And then I can see it from my deck to see if they got it. I'm bringing this out, and I'm calling to them, and they're calling back and everything. And I get, the way my barn's set up, there's like, you know, it's kind of a pole barn, and it used to be a dairy barn at one time. So there's like 3 bays of it that face to the south, and the one kind of does an L shape, and then there's like one of those sliding doors that opens off to the west. And as I'm walking by the sliding door, I heard this growl that sounded like a cross between a big dog and a bear or something coming from at least 10 feet off the ground. Well, there was a fairly good-sized male Bigfoot in there, and he felt trapped. And, you know, if you ever had one of them oh shit moments, this was it. And I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Think fast, think fast, think fast. And I turned my back to him. I did that because by doing that, it let him know I wasn't trying to trap him.
Right.
It removed me as a threat. And I just pretended like he wasn't there. I did my thing. I put my snack up on the pole, and I turned around and walked back past again. But see, it let him know that I wasn't trying to trap him. I turned my back to him. It let him know that I trusted him not to hurt me. And it also let him know I didn't care he was there because I just acted like he wasn't even there. Now, I walked along that side of the barn. I walked at a little bit quicker pace than I normally would. But, you know, it's, you do what you got to do. But that's the only time I really ever felt threatened in any way.
Well, David, you know what? It's been an hour, and our time is up. But you know what? I know that you didn't even scratch the surface, did you?
Oh, no, I've got lots of good stories.
I know you do. Well, would you be willing to come back? I'll have to get back with you and let you know what date. Probably sometime in December. Would you be willing to come back? Well, I'm going to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed your adventures. I really did. You know, I've had, there were several times that I investigated habituation type situations and went there and couldn't find anything, wanted to believe that there was nothing there, these people were crazy, and yet on the one lady had very similar what was going on with you. Chris Noel actually got thermal footage from the same location that I said there was nothing there. And then we went to another location down in South Texas, and I didn't think anything was there either. Yet they found hair that was confirmed to be an unknown primate. So, you know, you just don't be doubtful, because anyone that has heard David's stories, don't be completely doubtful, because you just don't know what could really be going on. I totally think that this could be actually a great place to live. And you've got some great neighbors. So if you would.
You can't drive down a gravel road without seeing signs of them.
Yes.
Especially when you get where the creeks are. You start seeing all the different stick stuff, the fence mashed down, barbed wire fence completely mashed down, like between the first two posts on the high side of the bank. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Wow.
So, but see, the thing is, they're thick here. And the reason for it is because they have the habitat.
Yes. Yes.
If you've got the habitat and the food source, they will be there. And they stay here year-round. They don't migrate. You know, like on our next one, I'll tell you about my standoff with two males that tried to intimidate me from a deer I killed.
Well, I would love to hear about that, but we are going to have you back. I'm going to get with you. We definitely have some openings in December, so I'm going to have, we're booked all the way through November, but we have run out of time, and I'm worried they're fixing to cut us off because we're no longer streaming live. We're in archive, and so I do need to go ahead and tell you goodnight. Thank you so much for coming on. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely going to have you back next month, because I know you've got a lot more out there to tell. So, and I really want to hear it, and I know our listeners do too.
If you'd like to talk more, you've got my phone number. I'm here.
I do. I do. And I will.
Well,
but everyone,
you got my phone number. Give me a call if you want to talk more.
Okay. Sure enough. Okay, everyone. Let's say good night, everyone. Thank you for listening to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio.
Bigfoot Radio.